Alright, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this video, and this is the first video for 3VT in the year 2020. It's very nice. We're starting with a new paragraph about simplifying square roots. Now, last year you already had this, but you've probably forgotten a few things, so I thought I would repeat it, and then hopefully you can make the exercise without any troubles. If there are any exercises that you don't understand, then message me, I'll explain it to you, or maybe I'll make a video about some of the questions that I get a lot. Yeah? Here are the rules. You can also find them in your book, and it says here that if the square root of a, if you square that, you get a. Well, that makes sense, right? Then here we have the square root of a times the square root of b is the square root of ab, so you put it in one square root. And then we have the square root of a divided by the square root of b is also in one square root a divided by b. This looks a bit like, it's very abstract, so I'm going to do a few examples with just numbers. Here we see the first example. I'm going to start easy. We see 5 times the square root of 3 plus 2 times the square root of 3. Now, if these square roots are the same, like over here, you can add them. So this is 7 times the square root of 3. Maybe you remember that from last year. If the square roots are different though, if this was an 8, right, or a 2, or a 5, then you cannot add them. And then you write down no answer, or you just copy the exercise. Then times, here we see a 5 square root of 3 times 2 times the square root of 3. And here we can see a rule that if you do the square root of a times the square root of b, you can just multiply those numbers. So that's what we're going to do. First I'm going to do 5 times 2 is 10. And then we're going to do the square root of 3 times the square root of 3. 3 times 3 is 9. So that's the square root of 9. Right? But then you can still simplify that some more. Because the square root of 9 is just 3. And 10 times 3 is 30. So this answer is going to be 30. Right? Divided by works very similarly, but it's just a bit different. Here first we see 6 divided by 2, that's 3. And then also here, the square root of 27 divided by the square root of 3 is also the square root of 9. So also here you can simplify it some more, because the square root of 9 is 3, and 3 times 3 is 9. So this is the answer, right? So those were the sort of easy examples, although they are a bit complicated still, because square roots are just not that easy. But here we have a bigger exercise, so I want to work that out. We have to work out brackets. So that means you have to do this number times the first thing you see in the brackets, and this times the second thing you see in the brackets. So first we're going to do this times that. So 2 times 3 is 6. And in the square root we have 3 times 2 is also 6. Now unfortunately we can't simplify that further, because the square root of 6 does not have a nice answer. And then here we have 2 times the square root of 3 times 4. So that's going to be 8 times the square root of 3. It's going to be a minus here, because there was a minus there. And this is it. You can't simplify it further, because these square roots cannot be made smaller. Sometimes you can make them smaller though. For example, if I have the square root of 12, right, I can write that down as the square root of 4 times the square root of 3. Now the square root of 4 is 2, so this is 2 times the square root of 3. So this is actually this rule, but then in reverse. Right? We first split this up, and then we simplify it. We actually have to use that for this example. Because here it says 2 times the square root of 32 minus 3 times the square root of 8. So you can write down no answer. But that will be wrong, because these square roots you can simplify. So first I have 2 times, and then I have to think about what can I simplify that square root as. So you sort of need to know all the square roots that have an whole answer. For example, the square root of 4 is 2. The square root of 9 is 3. The square root of 16 is 4. And the square root of 25 is 5. Etc. This goes on for forever. Right? We're going to take a look at the 32. Can we divide that by one of these numbers? Well, we can divide it by 16. We can also divide it by 4. But you have to take the biggest number. Otherwise you can simplify it again. You don't want that. You want to be finished quick. So we're going to divide it by 16. This is 16 times 2. And the square root of 16 is 4. So we have 2 times 4 times the square root of 2. So that's going to be 8 times the square root of 2. Then we have another thing over here. So I'm going to write down the minuses. The square root of 8. But also maybe you can divide it by one of these numbers. You can. You can divide it by 4. So you have 3 times the square root of 4 times the square root of 2. And the square root of 4 is of course just 2. So that's going to be 6 times the square root of 2. So you see that after simplifying the square roots, it's now the same number. and if it's the same number, you can add them. We saw that over here. So 8 minus 6 is 2 times the square root of 2. So remember, this one doesn't change, right? The square root of 2 stays the same, just like 8a minus 6a is also 2a, right? So the a does not change. So it is very similar to algebra, right? Algebra is just calculating with letters, but now you calculate with square roots. So it's the same thing. So you have to know these rules, you have to know when to apply them, and then you can solve all of these simplifying things. Yeah? If you have any questions, feel free to contact me, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you.